Giants made some defensive signings, I think, for the most part. I like the deals they made with the linebackers. Blake Martinez is a talented linebacker when he's healthy. He's had some injury issues early in his career, but again, 3 years, $30 million. It's a nice deal for him. One of the best run stoppers in the league. Versatile both inside and out for a 3-4 defense. I like that kind of move. James Bradbury, I think they overpaid for a little, but I still don't mind the player. I think he's a guy that's improved every year. He's been more of a zone corner, which again worries me because the Giants are a little more of a man-to-man coverage team, unless they change things with their new defensive coordinator. But they've been more man-to-man throughout the last couple years, so that worries me a little bit. But he's a rising young corner. He's been kind of a low-end one, a high-end two, which is it's fine. You need corners in today's game. They're hard to find. So I like that move too. The rest of them are just really depth moves. I mean, they got 2 tight ends. They got.
Well, thank you. We know they have 2 tight ends, but what do they need to do in the draft that's going to give them the opportunity to be a Super Bowl contender or a playoff contender?
So what I want them to do if they keep the pick is Isaiah Simmons, because I think he's as unique of a defensive
A lot of people
prospect,
think he's going 2 or 3.
which is very possible. I think what scares me the most is Carolina jumping in front of them to get Isaiah Simmons, because to replace Kuechly. I think you could definitely see that. So if he's there and they keep the pick, I want Simmons. I wouldn't mind if they trade it back either, because they still need a lot. They still need a lot on that defense. They need pass rush. They could use some safety help. They help their linebackers a little bit, but even so, I don't mind them getting another one of that. And then offensive line, they definitely could use some of that too. So I don't mind if they trade back either, but if they keep the pick, I definitely want Isaiah Simmons for the New York Giants. They need to do a lot. They need to hope this coach is really going to instill that culture, and they need to hope Daniel Jones can take the next step. Hopefully Jason Garrett's the right offensive coordinator to do that. So we'll see.
I think he is.
Speaking of Jason Garrett, the Dallas Cowboys, who no longer have Jason Garrett as their head coach.
No, they don't.
They've had a very...
Big mistake.
God. You're the only person who thinks that.
No, Tyler thinks that too.
That Jason Garrett's a better coach than Mike McCarthy?
Yes, he thinks he's a better fit than Mike McCarthy. I'm not saying Mike McCarthy isn't a better coach than Jason Garrett. I said Mike McCarthy's offense doesn't fit the player and the player personnel that the Cowboys have, which is going to affect what they're going to do this year offensively. So yes.
All right, so aside from
you smell,
that,
by the way.
God, enough with that.
You do, you smell.
So the Cowboys, again, they've had a very chaotic offseason for the most part. They overpaid Amari Cooper, which we both agreed on.
What's up, Mattis?
For $20 million a year, which was insane. And then they franchised Dak. We'll see what happens with that. They made some good moves. I think they improved their interior with Dontari Poe and Gerald McCoy. Those are both nice, good value picks. They need to improve their run defense. But they also lost Byron Jones. And they've also, again, still haven't shored up their other end of the pass rush with DeMarcus Lawrence on that side. And that's a big issue because Lawrence was also double-teamed a lot last year, too, after getting paid all that money and did not produce. So that's going to be a big issue for them to find. So that could be one area they could look to in the draft. I think they're picking at 17, but they definitely need secondary help. So they need a corner badly. They bring in HaHa Clinton-Dix to help the safety department, but they need a corner badly. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, that's definitely where you have to go in this draft. Either a pass rusher like Espinosa or Chason, or a corner. You got C.J. Henderson. You got Christian Fulton. I like the corner from Utah, too, Jalen Johnson. So there's a lot of areas they could go. And don't be surprised if they trade back, too, to try to get a quantity of it as well. So I think that's where the Cowboys could go. As for the Redskins, I think the Redskins have had a very good offseason so far. I'll give them a lot of credit. Ron Rivera was a great hire for them at head coach. They need somebody to change
Why
the culture.
piece of toilet paper, Speedy?
They bring in Kendall Fuller.
Early Christmas gift.
Oh, God. They bring in Kendall Fuller, 4 years, $40 million, which I think is a really nice deal for them. He's been not a number one corner that's consistent, but a low-end number one, high-end number two. He's fast. He's scheme versatile. And, he can also play safety, too, which is a big help for them. And I think he'll fit nicely for a guy who is more of a zone corner with what Ron Rivera likes to do. Thomas Davis was his former linebacker. I like that move, bringing him back for veteran leadership and just knowing the system as well. They bring in some corner depth. Ronald Darby, who's a good boomer bust kind of deal. When he plays, he's really good. He's just injury prone, and he sometimes was misused in Philadelphia.
You like the bust, right?
I mean, I'm a Giants fan. So
do you like the bust?
I'm hoping he busts.
No, but do you like to bust?
Do I like to bust?
Yeah, like bust. Yes.
Depends on what it is. I don't know.
So you don't like to bust? Bust a move.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Show us you bust a move right now.
Oh God, no, that's not happening.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so they franchise tag Brandon Scherf.
I'm trying here. I'm really trying here.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
They franchise tag Brandon Scherf, which hopefully they can get a long-term deal done for their sake, but otherwise they might have to trade him, which that could look bad. And then again, they're already trying to trade Trent Williams, so we'll see what they can do with that. They lost a lot of value.
Lost the move.
In terms of the draft, I think they personally should try to trade back, try to get the biggest bargain that they can, because I don't think they need the top defensive players that are getting there at that draft. So I think they should try to trade back, try to get value, because they need a lot of offense. They need receivers, they need offensive line, and they could use some running back help too in a deep running back draft. Darius Geis has had trouble staying healthy. Bryce Love is a good backup too, but he's had trouble staying healthy as well. So they need to focus on offense to help out Dwayne Haskins, or help out, even if Kyle Allen becomes the starter, help out Kyle Allen, whatever they can do, because that offense is not good right now at all. And their defense is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good, where they have to really focus on offense. And then you get the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, there you go. Go ahead.
The biggest winners, I think, so far in that division, and probably...
And you're one of the biggest losers.
Okay, thank you for noting. They've been one of the biggest winners of the entire offseason throughout the league. I think they made some great moves to help out this defense. Obviously, the big one being draining Darius Slay, and they absolutely robbed the Detroit Lions. They didn't even have to give up a first-round pick for a top 5 corner in football. That was an insane move for them.
Top 3 corner in football.
When he's on, he definitely... You could argue he is. Jatavis Brown, Javon Hargrave are also nice value moves. None of them were overpaid. I think that'll help up the middle of the field, which is a big weakness for the Eagles. And Jalen Mills and Will Parks are both versatile guys that can play both corner and safety, so that Jim Schwartz can do a lot of different things. He loves to mix up coverages. He doesn't like to blitz very often, but he loves to disguise certain things. So that will definitely help out a lot. In terms of the draft for them, they're drafting pretty late. I think they're 23, 24, if I remember correctly. So again, their focus is still going to be receiver and corner, because they had a lot of receiver injuries last year. I like the kid they drafted last year in J.J. Arcega Whiteside. We'll see if he takes a big step up, but he's also another guy who's always injury prone. They have Deshaun Jackson there. They have talent on that team, but again, they still could use another guy for depth purposes, and then corner too, or linebacker should be where they look at in the draft. Again, same kind of thing. Shenault, Ayuk, guys like that are going to be guys, Rager, guys to look at if you want a receiver. And then the same guys I was talking about for the Jets, Fulton, Henderson, guys like that.
Curry.
For corners, I'm talking about.
I'm talking about defensive players.
No, I'm talking about for draft picks. Those will be area to focus. And even linebackers. You got Patrick Queen.
They lost Darby, by the way.
They did. And they replaced him with Slay and replaced him with some versatile guys. So I think they'll be able to handle that okay. But in terms of young corner that could rise, that's where I think they could go. And then linebackers, you got Patrick Queen, you got Zach Bond, you got Kenneth Murray, who are all guys that could be available in that spot too. There's going to be a lot of traffic, though, in that late end of the first round, though, because there's going to be a lot of teams, a lot of playoff teams that need linebackers. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Packers. So it'll be interesting if they take one before that. They'll have to take it in the first round. So I love what the Eagles did, and Howie Roseman proves again why he's one of the best GMs in football.
And that was Joe Douglas's boss. So there you go.
Yep.
Let's go to the Washington Redskins. I like what they did bringing in Ron Rivera. That helps their defense. It's going to help their young defense with all the weapons that they've had in the last couple of years, building through the draft. They have all these number 1 draft picks. Now you had a defensive-minded coach that's going to help some of these young defensive players really develop some of the skills that they didn't have in the last couple of years, having an offensive-minded coach that really didn't help the organization out with their strengths from their weaknesses. So I think the Redskins could do that. Also, there is rumors that they're going to possibly bring in somebody like Cam Newton. They brought in the kid Allen. They made a trade that was a good trade for the Washington Redskins, bringing in a backup quarterback of that magnitude. Had a very good year as the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, taking over for Cam Newton. Dwayne Haskins looks like he's a promising young quarterback where maybe you can move him if they do bring in somebody like Cam Newton. I don't know what the plans are with Ron Rivera, but I like what they've done in the offseason, the Washington Redskins. They added some depth offensively, and they gave themselves some defensive quality players in the free agency market, too. They did lose guys like Gordon, who's no longer... is it Gordon? I'm sorry. I'm not Gordon. Norman, I'm sorry. They lost Josh Norman.
I think Fuller's better at this point, so I think it's an upgrade.
Yeah, but again, losing Josh Norman, it does affect the organization and the team, because Josh Norman, even though he didn't have a great season last year, this still is a star corner that has had success with the Washington Redskins. So that's something the Redskins, as far as the Redskins need to do in the draft, well, they need a lot of offensive weapons. I think that's something that they have not done very, very well over the years. bringing in a number 1 wide receiver is something they don't have. They have weapons. They have good number 2s and good number 3s, but they've never had that number 1 guy that they could depend on to go up there. They had Garcon a couple of years ago. I think he
wasn't a number 1 guy.
I think he was a quality number 1.
He was a good 2. But
I think Garcon, he had number 1 statistics. So, and Garcon could have been a number 1. He was a number 1 in Indianapolis for a while.
Yeah, it's easy to have number 1 receiver statistics when Peyton Manning's your quarterback.
It doesn't matter. Garcon has had a pretty good career. If you look at his numbers, they're borderline Hall of Fame numbers as a wide receiver. Go look at his numbers.
Pierre Garcon.
Yeah, go look at Pierre Garcon. Go look at his numbers.
Borderline Hall of Fame
Borderline. I didn't say they're Hall of Fame numbers. I said borderline Hall of Fame numbers. 7,000.
He had 2 seasons of 1,000 receiving yards.
Okay.
That's borderline Hall of Fame.
So what does that mean?
All right, 113 catches.
Go look at Edelman's numbers. Go look at Edelman's numbers.
Edelman's not a Hall of Famer either.
A lot of people think that he is.
He's not.
A lot of people.
He hasn't had a good enough regular seasons.
Well, just look at Edelman's numbers. Go compare Edelman's numbers to his.
Okay.
Everybody thinks Julian Edelman.
I don't.
Well, you don't. Other people do.
I don't know why. He hasn't done it for long enough, and he hasn't had enough
6,000
great regular seasons.
6,507. So Pierre Garcon and played it almost just maybe 10 or 12 more games more than Edelman.
He has 2 more career touchdowns, and again, he's had 1,300 more yards. Okay, he's played a little longer.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
fine.
They say Edelman is a borderline Hall of Famer.
But he's not.
I don't know. He's not.
I don't know who's saying this. He's not a Hall of Famer.
I didn't say. Listen. Again, there are running backs that made it to the Hall of Fame that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, Terrell Davis, I know.
Yeah, so who's to say Edelman's not a Hall of Famer? And who's to say Pierre Garcon, who's a very good Samaritan in the NFL, is not a Hall of Famer?
He had 2,000-yard seasons.
So what does that mean?
Not a Hall of Famer.
So what does that mean?
His best touchdown year was 6. I mean,
right.
that
doesn't matter.
That's a decent receiver. If you're a Hall of Fame receiver, you should have multiple double-digit touchdown seasons. You should have multiple 1,000-yard seasons.
Really?
More than 2.
So you work for the NFL. So you judge who's going to the Hall of Fame and who's not.
Hall of Fame is greatness. Yeah. Great receivers.
All right, and we've seen that with the major leagues. And how many guys that we've seen in the last couple of years that have gone to the Hall of Fame that are not great?
The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame is the stingiest one of all.
Well, not anymore, because there were players that they brought in a couple of years ago that were not, to me, that were not Hall of Famers. So, and even this year, who went to the Hall of Fame this year? Derek Jeter, no.
And Larry Walker.
Larry Walker, who's not a Hall of Famer.
We disagree on that.
Who's not a Hall of Famer.
I agree with you in some circumstances. Like, I think they let in Jeff Bagwell, I know they let in, who shouldn't have been in. And who was the other one? The White Sox guy. The outfielder. I can't
Let's
think
get
of
off
his
the
name.
subject here.
But you're right. There are some, but for the most part, they're a stingier
I'm not
Hall
saying
of Fame.
Pierre Garcon is a Hall of Famer. I said he's a borderline Hall of Famer. If you look at some of the players that have made it to the Hall of Fame, and you shake your head, I've seen, and I'm going to see wide receivers make it to the Hall of Fame that have less than 10,000 yards. You're going to see it. You're going to see it. Watch. You're going to see it.
Averaging 700 yards a year is not a Hall of Famer.
Well, again, you're looking at the seasons that he played in certain seasons that he didn't play every single. Well, the last 2 seasons, 8 games. He didn't play a lot of games in the last 2 seasons because of injury.
Okay.
But the 16 games, if you look at his, I can't see it.
Okay, 2016, he had 179
He was
catches, 1,041 yards, 3
in 2008, 2009, 2010,
okay
and
season.
2011, he was the second and a third wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. Reggie Wayne was the number 1 guy there.
Okay. A number 2 receiver is generally not a Hall of Famer.
That's not true.
Okay, Reggie Wayne could be a Hall of Famer. He was a number 2 receiver for most of his career. Okay, fine. But there's not a lot of number 2 receivers that are Hall of Famers.